Hey, it's Lulu Cook from Gut Feeling Holistic Health, here to talk to you today about milk. So, lots of folks out there just like old school cow's milk, and that's awesome. Cow's milk provides tons of good, easily bioavailable protein, about 8 grams of protein per cup or 250 mLs of milk. And then depending on how much fat you have added in, whether it's a full fat milk or a non-fat milk at 2%, lots of choices in there to fit your own dietary needs around calorie control or enjoying the luscious creaminess of a full fat beverage, whatever it may be. Lots of options, great amount of protein, natural calcium, vitamin B12, typically fortified with vitamin D. So cow's milk is awesome if you like it and want to keep it in your diet. Lots of people don't, though, for plenty of good reasons. It may be a milk allergy or lactose intolerance. Could be digestive problems. Many people with irritable bowel syndrome or other digestive difficulties have a tough time with the heavy-duty wallop of dairy in a glass of cow's milk. Could be environmental concerns with the dairy ranching, the cow ranching that's a necessary part of the dairy industry. Certainly vegans are not going to be pouring a big glass of cow's milk anytime soon. So lots of reasons to look at other options, and thankfully these days there are more and more options to consider on your market shelf. Or making it yourself. Talking about the nut milks, super easy and fun and delicious to make your own. And maybe we'll do that on another video sometime. If you guys want to see how easy it is, totally happy to do that with you. But typically when we're choosing an alternative, we're looking for it to play some of the same roles of regular milk in our diet or in our cooking and baking. So we're wanting it to have protein, we're wanting it to provide calcium, vitamin D, and vitamin B12. Those are really standard components that we're looking for nutritionally when we're pouring a glass of milk or alternative beverages. So let's look at some of the top contenders to see how they stack up there. Rice milk, really low in terms of allergenicity, so people with really sensitive GI systems may find rice milk works really well for them. It's also totally low in protein, maybe just a gram of protein per cup, per 250 mLs. So it's not meeting that same goal of providing protein if you're a plant-based diner. Rice milk also tends to be pretty high in calories. It's got a lot of quickly digested carbs, so not ideal there. Hemp milk. I love hemp milk. It's got this super rich, creamy, luscious flavor. It's high in omega-3 fatty acids, which the data show are beneficial for mood stability, heart health, lots of other good impacts as well. So hemp milk is great for those things. Not so great for cost. It tends to be a pretty pricey product, and also not so great for protein. Maybe a little bit more than the rice milk there, but not a ton. Almond milk, super trendy these days, and actually it kind of drives me nuts. I like the flavor of almond milk just fine, but I typically am looking for that protein to be part of what I'm getting when I pour a big glass of milk. And again, almond milk is not particularly stellar that way. Maybe just a couple of grams of protein per cup per 250 mLs. It tends to be lower in calories than some of the other choices, so that can be helpful in some dietary plans. And the fats that it's got in it are definitely heart-healthy fats, those plant-based fats that we get from any kind of nuts or seeds. So there's some pros and some cons, really with all of these, but including the super trendy almond milk. Coconut milk is also really trendy. That one's high in saturated fat, and while the debate is still raging and the research is still unfolding about whether the kinds of saturated fat in coconut milk might be better for you than other kinds, The jury's still out, so if you're concerned about limiting saturated fat in your diet, coconut milk might not be the right direction to go. It's also vanishingly low in protein. So what's our non-dairy beverage that can serve the role of milk, including the protein role? Well, that is your good old handy-dandy soy milk. It's been around a long time, and it's got a pretty stellar track record. Soy milk can provide anywhere from 6 to 8 or even more grams of protein per cup per 250 mLs. It's got all of the essential amino acids, so that's a really nice profile of proteins provided. And there's a lot of mythology out there about soy milk being bad for our thyroid or bad for cancer, bad for our hormone balance. And frankly, that research, well-validated, well-performed, randomized control trials and other kinds of research just don't back up any of those concerns. Having soy in reasonable amounts in our diets is demonstrably healthy for us. I'm not suggesting going on an all-soy diet. That would probably be too much and not so healthy. Just like going on an all-broccoli diet would also not be so good for us, right? It's about balance. And in a balanced fashion, in a healthy, balanced diet, soy products and soy milk can definitely fit in. Oh my gosh, listen to me. I sound like I'm getting paid by the soy industry right now, but I promise I'm not. It just drives me nuts to see so much mythology out there about soybeans. Nuts about beans. So I'll actually link to a nice summary article that tracks some of the mythology and tracks some of the research debates going back and forth about soy. I'll link that below for people who are keen to learn more and dive into the sordid history of hype around soy. But yeah, it's good. It's good for you. Some people don't love the taste of soy milk. It can be a little beany for some people. And that's even more the case maybe when you're looking for the unsweetened varieties. And so if the protein isn't a concern for you, maybe you would prefer one of those other options, the almond milk, the rice milk. A few little tricks and tips to keep in mind when you're choosing your alternative beverage is, one is look for the added sugars and avoid them. We don't need them in our beverages that we drink. If you really want some extra sweetness in there, add a teaspoon of syrup, maple syrup yourself. Or when you make your own, you can add some dates or some other little tricks to add a little bit of sweetness without adding the sugars. But look for the boxes that don't have it already added for you. And at that, look for the boxes. If price and cost are a concern for you, go to the dry goods aisle of the store rather than the refrigerated aisle. Nowadays, you can find gorgeous, beautiful canisters of alternative non-dairy beverages in the Friggy section, sometimes right next to the cow's milk. Those are typically much more expensive than the boxes that you find in the dry goods aisle. And there's no real nutritional difference between them. But sometimes the boxes, you can even find them from the same brand sometime. And the boxed version will cost half as much as the refrigerated version. So unless you really have to have that cold glass of coconut milk right now, go for the boxed version, save yourself some money. Make sure it's fortified. Calcium is one of the things we're typically looking for from our milk or our non-dairy milk beverages. And I was absolutely astonished a year plus into living here in Australia to learn that the soy milk here is not calcium fortified always. I mean, there are brands you can look for that have that calcium fortification, but it's not necessarily the case that it has that in there. I've found lots of brands that don't. So looking for that if it's playing an important role in your diet, particularly for plant-based eaters, vegans, you're not getting the calcium from cheese, yogurt, and, ice cream. So you might need it from these kinds of milk products. Also, if you are getting the fortified products, make sure you shake up the box or carton before you pour it, because that's going to make sure that the fortification, basically the vitamins that are added and are floating around in that chalky stuff at the bottom of the box. By shaking it up, you get that redistributed and you get to enjoy it in your glass of refreshing, non-dairy, non-milk, fake milk beverage. And my final trick or tip is to look for organic or not. I think often once we get into the realms of looking for alternatives to traditional foods, there can start to be a lot of noise and hype around other qualities we might look for, like organic. And I just want to tell you that if organic is out of your price range, that is okay. Just by choosing a non-animal based beverage, you're already making a huge step forward from an environmental standpoint. And we can't all always afford what organic costs. That said, it probably is a little bit better for us to choose organic, and definitely better for the environment, definitely better for the people who work around those farmlands that are now not being sprayed because it's an organic product. So yeah, choose organic if you can, and don't beat yourself up about it if you can't. So those are kind of some of the pros and cons with dairy milk and non-dairy alternatives. Again, cow's milk is awesome if that fits in your ideals and in your diet. But it doesn't for all of us. Or maybe sometimes we just want a change of pace, want to try something different. Maybe we're having an active period of digestive inflammation and we need to take a break. There's lots of great options out there these days. Pick the one that's right for you. Pick an unsweetened version. And if you're looking for the protein, you're really going to have to go with soy milk in general, or one that another option that's fortified with protein, supplemented with protein. Looking also for the supplements with the vitamin D, the calcium, and the B12. The B12 is another one to really keep your eye out for if you're the plant-based diner, the vegan diner, wanting to make sure that you're getting that B12 in anywhere you can. And it's pretty typical to find it added to a non-dairy milk. So that's the scoop on refreshing, wonderful milks. Please let me know if you have any questions about it. I'm happy to respond or do some digging and really go to the research to find out the answers around these kinds of questions. Because we're all just trying to take care of ourselves as best we can, maybe take care of the environment as best we can while we're at it. And there's a lot to consider. So here's to your good health.